Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood script. We're looking at the ultimate from poverty to billionaire inspiring success story. It's the seemingly impossible true story of Chandubai Virani. We're going to explore exactly how a teenage boy, staring down a devastating drought, defied literally every odd to build an absolute behemoth of a fast-moving consumer goods empire. So, if you ever feel like the deck is stacked against you, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this one.
Okay, let's just get right into it. To truly wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of this journey, we've got to look at where it started versus where it is today. 240 rupees. That was it. That was the entire combined monthly survival budget for Chandubai and his brother when they first started out. I mean, they couldn't even afford 50 rupees for room rent at one point. Now, fast forward and compare that to 60 billion rupees. 60 billion. That is the current annual revenue of their company, Balaji Wafers. So, how on earth do you bridge a gap like that?
Well, let's trace the origins of this empire back to the 1970s. A brutal, severe drought hit a small farming village called Dundaraji in Gujarat. The crops totally dried up, and the rains simply betrayed them. With their livelihood gone, the family had to sell off their dry land. Chandubai's father handed his sons just 20,000 rupees and essentially told them, Go find a new life in the city of Rajkot. But as you can probably guess, things did not go smoothly. They tried selling farm equipment, scammed. They tried opening a dairy, went completely broke. By the end of the 70s, Chandubai, who, by the way, only had a 10th grade education, found himself working as a cinema canteen boy, making a meager 90 rupees a month.
Which brings us to the first major phase, surviving the city and facing those first real trials.
Forced to make ends meet in Rajkot after those early business flops, Chandubai took whatever grueling work he could possibly find at the Astron Cinema Canteen. But here's the kicker. He didn't just serve food and call it a day. No way. He was enthusiastically pasting film posters, standing at the doors checking tickets, guiding people to their seats, and late at night, long after the movies were over, he actually stayed behind, repairing torn cinema seats. And he didn't even ask for extra money to do this. He did the whole shebang just in exchange for a simple plate of chorafari and chutney, just to survive.
This incredibly intense period birthed his very first life mantra, that work is a sacred duty. Essentially, this means doing every single task diligently, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem in the moment. You do it without constantly asking for extra praise or some immediate cash reward. Just let your diligent effort do the talking. And actually, his employer noticed this exact work ethic, which directly led to his very first big break, landing the actual contract to run that cinema canteen himself.
And that leads us to a massive turning point, the potato chip pivot, where a giant problem becomes an incredible opportunity.
So, Chandubai secured this canteen contract for 1,000 rupees a month. Awesome, right? Well, a major operational bottleneck immediately reared its head during those frantic 5-minute movie intermissions. Customers wanted potato chips, wafers, at lightning speed, but the local supply chain was completely broken. First, supplier number 1 simply couldn't meet the volume demand. So they moved to supplier number 2, who was constantly delivering late. Then they tried a third supplier, who gave them totally irregular supply and just terrible quality chips.
So it really begs the question, when you're facing this seemingly impossible bottleneck, how exactly do you fix a continually broken supply chain when literally no one else in the local market can seem to get it right?
The answer for Chandubai is found in his second life mantra, look for solutions. Basically, prioritize problem-solving over worrying. He firmly believes that if nature closes one door, it absolutely opens another. So instead of panicking about losing his canteen sales, he looked at this severe crisis and saw a massive opportunity. The solution was blindingly simple, yet incredibly daunting. Just make the potato wafers themselves.
10,000 rupees. That is the pivotal number that changed absolutely everything. Instead of just throwing in the towel, Chandubai and his family scraped together a total investment of 10,000 rupees to build a custom potato peeling and cutting machine, and they set up a makeshift shed right in their backyard. Now keep in mind, he had no idea how to make chips. He hired a helper who almost never showed up, which meant Chandubai had to stay up all night after finishing his grueling cinema shift, just to fry these wafers himself, and despite a massive amount of early wastage, he just kept at it.
This beautifully illustrates his third mantra, which is perfectly captured in a fantastic quote from Chandubai himself. He says, "The highly educated people are not good businessmen. They will spend their time overthinking everything. They need to grab the opportunities." See, he believes that once you identify a real market need, you just have to jump in head first. Don't let overanalysis paralyze you into inaction. When you see it, grab the opportunity.
Now we hit the really exciting part,
scaling the snack empire and officially building Balaji wafers.
By 1984, the official brand Balaji Wafers was born, named after a small Lord Hanuman temple that was actually located right inside that cinema canteen. But scaling this thing, it required relentless, unbelievable grit. I mean, they started by physically loading huge bags of chips onto bicycles, motorcycles, and rickshaws, personally delivering them to remote towns. They had to deal with shady shopkeepers lying about payments or returning half-eaten packets, but they pushed through it all. By 1989, demand was off the charts, so they secured a 5 million rupee loan to build Gujarat's largest wafer plant. And here's the best part. When their massive new machines broke down and corporate engineers tried to charge 50,000 rupees just to visit, Chandubai, the 10th grade dropout, literally taught himself mechanical engineering just to fix the machines himself. How wild is that?
This relentless drive perfectly aligns with his fourth mantra, Uttam devotion. He compares the way you should love your work to the legendary total devotion that Meera had for Krishna. You know, you have to love your work so completely that no obstacle, no broken machine, no cheating shopkeeper can ever deter you from your ultimate mission.
And that deep, unwavering devotion was seriously put to the test when massive multinational corporations came knocking, trying to outright buy Balaji Wafers. But they completely refused the buyout offers. Why? Because they received over 500 letters from loyal, everyday customers who had grown up eating their chips. These customers were terrified that a giant MNC would compromise the authentic taste they loved and unreasonably jack up those affordable prices. So Chandubai chose his devoted customers over a massive quick cash out. Which brings us to our final section, Lessons from a Billionaire, and the underlying philosophy of this immense success. Because they refused to sell out, Balaji Wafers didn't just survive, they exploded into a formidable competitor to global giants like PepsiCo's Lay's. And they did it precisely because they maintained a philosophy of keeping their entire ecosystem satisfied. Just look at their current scale. It is absolutely staggering. From that tiny backyard shed, they now operate 4 massive factories across India. They pump out over 50 different snack products, reaching 14 states and even international markets. They employ over 7,000 people and work closely with 2,000 suppliers, 80% of whom are local farmers. They literally built an empire that lifts up everyone around them. The big secret to sustaining this massive scale is his 5th mantra, prioritizing service over sales. To Chandubai, sales basically means aggressively pushing or forcing a product onto someone. He just doesn't believe in that. Instead, he believes in service, meaning creating a high-quality, affordable product that people genuinely love, which naturally creates this organic pull demand. You honestly serve the customer's real needs, and the profits, well, they simply follow as a byproduct of that good faith.
And behind all of this incredible business strategy is an unshakable family foundation. He actually attributes their enduring success to the compassion and teamwork seen in the epic of the Ramayana. Instead of fighting over greed or ego, they operate purely on cooperation. He points out that even if only one brother is the hero and the others are, quote, zeros, if those zeros stand in harmony behind the one, their collective strength suddenly multiplies into the thousands. It's all about leveraging everyone's unique strengths together.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about this. We've just seen how a young guy forced out of his village by a devastating drought, a 10th grade dropout, took 10,000 rupees and a makeshift backyard shed and built a 60 billion rupee empire simply by refusing to make excuses. He did the grueling work, he found solutions, he grabbed the opportunities, and he honestly served his customers. So I'll leave you with this final powerful thought. What is your dream? And honestly, what is your excuse? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep learning.